It's in an hour.
Mic check.
What?
I'm just gonna do some mic check. We're gonna check the mic.
The mic, yeah, but also this right here. I wonder if it's dead. Do you have any way to check see if the battery's dead on it?
Oh, okay. Let me.
Let's see if you want to be turning around. Yeah, it's not. It seems to be dead.
Yeah. Let me,
Cool. Thank you. Oh, this is Pam's. I guess she used it last time, so I just sign her out.
oh no, you can just do add. Add
Well,
person.
let's sign her out first, just in case.
She's already on.
She is?
Yeah. Is that one any better?
Yeah, I always forget my email. What the
okay.
extension is. I'm trying to.
Yeah, this is actually it's
What's that?
it's working. So I don't know.
What was it before? I think it was just.
I think it just sometimes it's the delay
Oh, there is.
when you
Right.
power it. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Check the battery. The battery is 89%. We're good. Thank you.
I just think it's going I got it. I was like, oh my gosh. Never Larry,
Larry, you good? Good evening, everybody. All right, good evening, everybody. All right, thank you guys for all coming out tonight. It's great to see you. I'm going to kick off the meeting by doing a call to order. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act and is open to the media and public. Effective March 1st, all legal notices and board meeting dates shall only be posted on the district website in conformity with state code. Formal action may be taken. Mr. Bowen, to get a roll call.
Mrs. Cassidy.
Here.
Mrs. Fiore.
Here.
Mr. Lopes.
Here.
Mrs. Menser. Mr. Pieros. Mrs. Rad. Mrs. Ryan.
Here.
Mrs. DePinto.
Here.
Mr. Rizzo.
Okay, please stand for a flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first item is the student representative to the board. So please come up and make your presentation.
Next one there.
Hello everyone. We're doing a update on the RMS spring sports. We're doing an update on the RMS spring sports. So for the girls lacrosse, Coach Brown reported significant improvement in stick skills, game knowledge, and teamwork from the beginning of the season and throughout the end. There is strong commitment and enthusiasm from all of the players, despite facing some teams that may have been more experienced. There's a lot of development in leadership skills among returning players, and there's a lot of increased confidence among the newer athletes. And they started building a strong foundation for the future of the program. And then in baseball, Coach Unos reported that they had a 1-71 overall record, and they ended this season with their best game when they came back to tie Franklin after falling behind by 6 points. The game was led by Joey Manko, Rory Simpson, and Nick Albanese on the mound.
So for the softball, for A softball, they ended the team with 9 wins, 2 losses, and 1 drop, and they finished second in the league. It was led by pitcher Jordan, who ended the season with 3.46 ERA and 87 strikeouts over 11 starts, 4 of them which allowed 1 or less. Jordan also led the offense with a .590 batting average. 4 players hit a home run this season. Jordan Lacey, Kendall, and Eva, who had 3. However, the team's greatest strength was defense, posing a .971 fielding percentage, led by first baseman Sam and second baseman Alexa with 7 gloves. And the B team won the championship game victory over Bradley B. For boys lacrosse, coach reported that 1/9 overall record, 39 total goals. They had 5 all of last season. Defenders were Safe Hassan and the defending and Jackson Leach. Head goalie was Gavin. Starting middies were Henry Schwartz, Lucas Sands, and Matthew. Starting attack with John Stevens, Zachary Stevens, Cam Sears, and Danny Beckman.
Okay. For track, the RMS track and field team competed at the Meet of Champions at Warren Hill Regional High School, bringing home 3 medals. Brandon Craker placed first in both 800 meter, and 600 meter races. In field events, Ray and Kerr earned first place in a shot put with throw with over 34 feet and 5 inches. This beat the school record by over 3 feet. Many Vikings delivered outstanding performances and achievements and personal records for the season. In the 800 meter race, both Brandon Cricker and Joshua Gunnerman set personal bests. Athletes setting personal records in the 400 meter race included Harlan Sulecki, Reed Legan, Nina Hartson, and Rania Correa. Our athletes also did a great job in the hurdles. Ed Finley stepped in as an athlete alternate for the boys' hurdles, set a personal record with the time 29 seconds. Mia Shaw had an incredible meet, setting a personal record in all 3 of her events: the 100 meter, 200 meter, and the 400 meter relay. The girls' 400 meter relay was led by a team of Ava Weber, Millie Shaw, Emily Vining, and Alex Bergie. Finished in an impressive time of 1 minute flat. All 3 boys competing in the 200 meter race also ran personal best times. Congratulations to Harlan Selecki, Graydon Roth, and Matthew Garcia for their outstanding efforts. Maeve Morgan Allen, Noel Palumbo, and Kaden Woodward each achieved personal best in the 1600 meter race. Adriana Malinka also had a strong performance in long jump, setting a personal record with a jump of 14 feet and 1.3 inches. RMS coaches are very proud of their athletes' hard work this season and are grateful for a successful season. We wish to see our 8th graders do their very best, looking forward to the returning athletes back on the track next spring.
Good evening and welcome everybody to our.
Dr. Hart, before I just wanted to thank the 3 student representatives. This has been kind of your 3rd or 4th report. It's been a fantastic addition to our board. Made the meetings great. I really enjoyed the updates. I don't know if anyone else wants to make any comments before we.
I just want to mention all of these student athletes. It's stunning the amount of time and energy and dedication and passion they put in to participate in sports. It really is quite a lot of time that they're giving up, study time and free time, and it's admirable. And I'm glad we're able to bring some more attention to what they've accomplished this year.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
I want to also recognize our 3 students as well tonight. This year we were privileged to have 3 students attend board meetings as representatives from the student body. Tonight I'd like to recognize the hard work of Ira, Ishan, and Jimmy. They were selected based on an application process. Mr. Daly and I reviewed each student application and essay, and these students really stood out. They showed their commitment to our school, a desire to connect with the board, to connect the board with our students, and a sincere and genuine interest for public discourse. Over the course of all 4 board meetings, they've delivered meaningful updates from RMS spanning academics, athletics, civics projects, and Viking visionaries. I'd like to personally thank Ira, Ishan, and Jimmy for their commitment and their service to the board. So these are Jimmy and I coordinated outfits for tonight. This morning I was like, Jimmy, I don't know what to wear. So So we decided to coordinate the right time. Congratulations, man. Mr. Deere. Congratulations. I wanted to recognize that.
I didn't realize that.
That's okay, I snuck it in there. That's right, don't worry about it. And for the superintendent's report, we have other student recognitions this evening. So there's a lot of us here in the room. What I'll do is we'll do all of our band recognitions first. We'll take a quick 5-minute break if anybody would like to depart after the band recognitions, and then we'll do student athletes if that's okay with everyone. It'll give us a little bit more breathing room here tonight. So tonight, we recognize the CJMEA Honors Band. This evening, we celebrate the accomplishments from the Reddington Township Music Department. For the third year in a row, we've been selected to receive the national distinction as one of the best communities in music education. Now in its 26th year, the Best Communities for Music Education designation is awarded to schools who demonstrate outstanding achievement in providing music access and education to all students. We also received a letter from U.S. Representative Tom Kane, and I'll read his remarks now. He wrote, "Dear Dr. Hart, I'm delighted to extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Reddington Township School District on being named one of the 2026 Best Communities for Music Education by the NAM Foundation. This is an extraordinary accomplishment and deserving of this national recognition. The district's support and encouragement of student participation in the arts is truly admirable. I applaud the entire community for making music education a priority and your music faculty for working with students to develop both the skills as well as a lifelong appreciation for music in their lives. Once again, congratulations. This is a well-deserved honor. I extend my best wishes to you and the Reddington Township School District and a restful summer and a successful year ahead." This exemplifies our Central Jersey Music Educators Association Honors Band and Orchestra recognitions tonight. CJMEA hosts competitions for students in Hunterdon, Monmouth, Mercer, Somerset, Middlesex, and Union counties. Our students from Hollenbrook and RMS had amazing performances, met other musicians from all over the region and of New Jersey, and worked hard to put on their concerts. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce two of our teachers, Mrs. Lestrange and Mr. Hasselbrink, to help me present awards to our musicians tonight.
Okay, so I am going to talk about the Hollenbrook Elementary Honors. The way that CJMEA does this is 4th and 5th grade are elementary. Actually 4th, 5th, and 6th are elementary, 7th and 8th only are middle school. I also wanted to mention too that we had just come back from Hershey on Friday. Our middle school orchestra, chorus, jazz band, and band all participated in this, and we earned a superior rating from all groups, which means it's a 9-year club. So we were really proud. Raise your hand if you are a music student that went on this trip on Friday. Go ahead and raise your hand. There's a lot of them in the audience right here. So I'm really proud of them and their accomplishments. I think just give them a For Hollenbrook School, we have Thomas Kammer, Timothy Kammer, Tristan Dream, Jesse Gold, Lance Hardison, Leland Philly, Kylie Leowen, and Mark Spivey. Absolutely. Sorry, Rachel. All right. And then I put it outside. Problem.
You're in here, right?
So I'll slow down for next time.
This is the strangest facts.
Kylie, here we go. Okay, for our middle, for our RMS participants in the elementary honors band, I will read a little bit slower, sorry. Isabel Bolivar, Riel Destasio, Nicholas Guerrero, Peter Leidick, and Felix Pitts.
There you are, I got it. Found you.
And for our middle school honors, and a quick note about the middle school honors, they really step up the difficulty of the music here. So the middle school honors was music that is like 8th, borderline 9th grade music, and everyone that participated in this did really such a great job preparing the music. It was not an easy feat, but they did really well on this, so congratulations to them. They are Victoria Denise, Robbie Brueggemann, Jaden Ken, Nathan Gardella, Philip Kendall, Adriana Linka, Remy Knoll, Michael Oliveira, and Nick Spivey.
I think that's not
Some marks. Everybody next, I'll give you next. Okay, thanks. Up, Jaden. Yeah. Okay. Here goes, kind of, all right. Adriana. Yep. I hear him. Really does this. Next time, you guys need to run things. And Michael. All right, and then I'll give you this. All right.
Okay, this is for the CJMEA Honors Orchestras. We met in April, there were 2 different events. So it's organized the same way. We have 4th, 5th, and 6th in the elementary category, 7th and 8th in middle school. I'm going to start with elementary. If you're here, come on up. Mava Morgan Allen. Matthew John. Katie Ann Lucas. And so for our, thank you. You're basking in the glory. Yes. For our middle school level students, if you want to call your names, please come up. Diana Ham. Henry Campy. Laura Carlsworth. Dirk Heyer. David Williams. Maximilian Bobiak. Arish Islam. And Lucy Richards. Congratulations to all of our orchestra students who participated. They crushed it. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time. Yeah.
These are all of our music recognitions for this evening. If anybody who received a music recognition would like to depart at this time, we'll take a quick break and we'll start the athletic recognitions in just a moment. So thank you very much for coming.
This is max of a case, like yeah.
We also have several athletic awards this evening as well. We have 3 athletic teams who had extraordinary seasons this year, and tonight we recognize their accomplishments on the athletic field. The boys cross-country team had an undefeated season. The boys soccer A team ended the season with an 8-3 record with a trip to the championship, and I'm told that this was their best season in over 10 years. And lastly, the softball B team ended the season with a record of 12-2 and won the championship game on May 28th. To help me recognize these students are their coaches. I'd like to invite Mr. Newcamp and Mr. Tipton up first to recognize, wait, just kidding. I'd like to bring up Ms. Whalen for the softball team coaches. Ms. Whalen.
Good evening, and thank you to the Board of Education for recognizing our amazing softball team tonight.
It is an incredible honor to stand before you all tonight and recognize a truly remarkable group of student athletes. While the championship victories certainly were celebrating, what makes this team so special goes far beyond the final score. Throughout the season, these young ladies demonstrate what makes a team. From the first day of practice to the final out of the season, they embraced every challenge with confidence and grace. They not only celebrated each other's successes, but lifted one another through adversity. In instances where teams would have become frustrated or placed blame, they remained calm in the face of chaos and only cheered each other on louder. They continually pushed themselves and their teammates to become better players, whether it was offering advice to a friend or asking, "Can I have another one from Coach Newcamp?" These girls created a culture of genuine positivity and support for one another that would be difficult to replicate. To start the season, the girls had a 7-game winning streak, but were coming up on their 8th game with their biggest competitor, Valley View. The girls put up a tough fight. When tie calls made by the umpire did not go in their favor, the girls took their first loss 2-1, and they came back calm and more determined. They went on to win 2 more games before going up against the undefeated Valley View team. At this 10th game, many factors unfortunately kept the girls from doing what they love and showing what they are truly capable of. In the face of chaos and unfairness, they lifted each other up and sparked a new motivation within each other. They were more than capable of winning it all, and they were going to prove it. This team went into playoffs with already the best record of any B softball team in school history with 10 wins and 2 losses. But that wasn't enough for them. With every playoff win and the many good games, each coach told me the same thing. They were rooting for the girls that had been so good to theirs. Not only did they win, they swept. Beating the previously undefeated team, the RMS Vikings won 8-0 with a storybook ending. With an incredible season and championship win, we have some incredible highlights as well. Riley Rutsky, our starting hitter, showed versatility on the field as our starting shortstop and pitched for her first season at RMS, and she recorded 22 runs this season. Lucy Richards was a vacuum of a first baseman and the MVP of our championship game. She recorded 21 runs this season, was an anchor for the team, and kept everybody calm. Molly Martin is an incredible second baseman. She recorded 22 runs this season. She was always loud on the field and preparing her teammates for the next play. Victoria Neto was our starting pitcher. She recorded at least 70 strikeouts this season. Abby Tenor was our starting catcher. She grew so much more in her confidence and had many incredible plays this season with her infielders and at bat. Jordan D'Antonio was ready for any position and a passionate strategist for her team. Olivia Pires was flexible and ready to do what it took for her team. She came back from an injury and was always ready to support her teammates. Ella Mikulak, was calm and confident. She's a strong third baseman, and she had pivotal plays in the championship game. Kendall Greta is a passionate player. She's always looking to grow. She had several catches in the outfield this season. Mary Grace Clark came from playing baseball and had an incredible first season. She was the biggest cheerleader on our team. She was always loud and proud for her teammates. Emily Mueller came to our team as a new softball player and came out a new player with a game-winning catch this season. These young ladies accomplished something that will forever be a part of our school's history. They brought home not only the first softball championship our school has ever won, but the first championship for any B team in any sport at Reddington Middle School. Years from now, students of all sports teams at our school will look back and strive for the excellence of the 2026 RMS B softball team. As their coach, I could not be prouder. Watching them grow not only as athletes, but as confident, compassionate, and resilient young ladies has been and will continue to be one of the greatest privileges of my career. I would like to thank our families, our teachers, administrators, and community members for supporting these athletes through their season. Their success would not have been possible without the encouragement they received from so many people along the way. To the team, thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey and for all you have taught me. You have made your coaches, your school, and your families incredibly proud, and you should be incredibly proud of yourselves as well. You set a standard that future teams will strive to reach, and you have left a legacy that will be remembered for years to come. When our season first started, Coach Newcamp asked the girls, when our school or other teams see the RMS softball team, what do you want to be known for? And I think they figured it out. Please join me in congratulating our 2026 softball champions on an extraordinary season and a historic accomplishment that will forever be a part of our school's history. You girls earned every moment of this recognition. Thank you. we have some certificates and a surprise for the girls. Mary Grace Clark over here. Jordan Di Antonio. Kendall Reda. Molly Martin. Ella Nicolai. Olivia Chadwick. Lucy Richards. Riley Rensky. Abby Tenor. And Victoria Yanetta.
Everybody gave.
Mr. Development. Come on up, talk about the boys soccer team.
I'm Coach Velder. Just want to highlight some of the soccer teams as a whole and how special it was what they did and how hard it was for them to do. Give you some numbers here. 486, 1,200, 675, 1,200, 760. That's enrollments that we play. So Dr. Hart says it's the best record we've had in 10 years, longer than that. And before that, we didn't play in this league. We played against the little schools in Hardin County. So Bridgewater has 1,200 7th and 8th graders. We have 486 total kids, 6th to 8th grade. So I mean, it's like Iceland getting to like the World Cup final. Yep. And another thing that makes it special, and this goes out to the parents, Reddington, since about 2016-ish, doesn't have a feeder program either. So they don't have a program that these kids play in that's travel. They have to go elsewhere. So parents have to drive, they have to get them on other different clubs. And without a feeder program, it's really hard to fill a team with all full-time soccer players. So I'd like to thank the parents for getting them also the proper training, and they would not be able to do what they did without that versus these giant schools. This team is special. They're special, determined, skilled, fearless, and most of all, accountable. In this day and age in team sports, a lot of people like to place blame on someone, something, or anything but themselves. This team held each other accountable through every step. When this 8th grade class came onto the scene as 6th graders, some stood out and made the 8 team right away, and others it took a little while for us to spot. Once they did, they quickly took many of the other those current 8th graders' spots, which is tough for those guys. But they were full time, they were trained, determined, and again fearless. So even as 6th graders, they came in like, just no fear and just, hey, I'm going to play. Coach will see it eventually, and we'll be out there. That being said, their 6th and 7th grade years, lessons were learned about teamwork, molding them from individual skill players into the team they are. Everyone has a job in soccer. No one is above their job. You do your job and good things happen. One person doesn't do their job can break the game for the team. I've never had so many leaders that were able to coexist within one team. When I gave the Leventis award this year, I gave 5. I'm supposed to give 2 or 3. I gave 5. I couldn't separate 5 of the guys, and that's not even a knock to the other guys. It's just the 5 guys that kind of led the way in different ways. Silent leader, vocal leader, skilled guy that we go to on the field. Just so many different leaders on the team. And sometimes we have too many leaders, it doesn't work. But these guys, it worked. I'm gonna share a couple of highlights with you guys of the season. I'm not gonna go through individual stuff. I can do that all night with these guys, but I'm gonna go. So we defeated rival JP Case. Their parents were not happy. The second time was in overtime for the semifinal with the Case and Reddington players together from Central, and it was like they're heckling us and we're heckling them, and you know they're like together because they're 100 Central guys now, but it was a good scene. It was very passionate and like you know what a soccer team should look like when it's a big game. This team actually lost their first 2 games of the season, so we lost to Bridgewater 1-0 to start the season at Bridgewater, which showed that we can play with them, and then we had a couple injuries and we lost to Warren. And then after that, 8 straight wins. We dismantled Montgomery 4-0, another big school. We beat Hillsborough 7-2 in their coach's last game, and he had beaten us up pretty good over the time of my time here at Hillsborough. We would get them sometimes, but they're always tough because they cut more kids than we have come out. We beat them 7-2 on the road. Reaching the finals for the first time in my tenure, we fell to Bridgewater 3-1. We were in the game and just didn't pull it off. Now this goes up to soccer, so it's my boys. I've always seen soccer as a vessel for young people and to get to where they need to go in life. Without soccer, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be a 22-year teacher teaching students my whole career, special needs students. I wouldn't be here without soccer. So these guys, soccer's gonna get them where they have to go. Without soccer, it teaches so many lessons, and these young men have learned many of these lessons already, and will continue to use soccer as a vessel well into their adulthood. These guys will be in their 40s probably, playing in the over 40 league, and my money's they'll be playing together. I'll leave you with this one last line from a 7th grade Antonio Martinez. I don't know where we're standing there, and the whole team, and he's like, "Coach," to me, Mr. Someone, we'll be number 1. And the second, I didn't even know like what he's talking about, the stage. I didn't know what he's talking about. But he said we're number 1, and we almost pulled it off. So that's my speech. Mateo Fusco. Oren Kushin. Brandon Frager. And to show their dedication, if you heard the track awards, a lot of these guys run track, and that's great for a soccer player. That shows they really want to improve their soccer skills. Track and soccer kind of go together, and Brandon's better at track too. Reed Leggett. Andre Lopes. Owen Nicolette. Nicholas Novojeski. Matthew Pennis. Don Sticks. Michael. Creative Rock. Jacob Thompson. And Bruno Victorino. So that's soccer team to come to the school. There you go. All over, man. There we go.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Board Ed and Dr. Parker, for having us tonight. First, I want to congratulate Mr. DeVelder and Ms. Whalen on remarkable campaigns. I got to see the boys' A soccer team firsthand against a super talented JPK squad in the playoffs. The atmosphere here at RMS was electric, and the boys' soccer effort that night was just masterclass. So well done, gentlemen, in that win. And then I got to help the softball team at the season. The experience and knowledge of the game was very wide on this team. We had two girls that had never played softball before. And fast forward 2 months, they're champions. So it's due to the cohesion of the group and the improvement from late March until now. Thank you, Ms. Brown, for fostering such a supportive environment where these young women felt empowered to grow as players in the dugout and also on the field. Tonight, though, I'm here to talk about the remarkable accomplishments of our cross-country team. The boys had their first undefeated season since 2009. So very long time. That was before we joined this big league of all the larger schools. We used to just compete against the Herman County schools. So Mr. Tipton and I weren't coaching back then, so I went digging in through the archives to compare the talent of this team to some of those teams back then. What stood out most about this group was their incredible depth. We had 6 runners break the 12-minute mark on our 3K course, which is running a 6-minute mile for 2 miles. Six men did it this year, running in the 11s or the 10s on 3K. So the foundation for this team's success was set last year. Our team actually won the Meeting Champions team title last year, and all but 2 of those runners came back. They were underclassmen, so naturally coming into this season, the expectations were very high, but the team embraced them. The practices were very competitive, their work ethic was outstanding, and their toughness and togetherness was second to none. Those qualities led to a perfect season. They finished 13-0 with the regular season. The road wasn't easy. We actually had some injuries. We lost 2 of our top 5 runners throughout the season, but the depth of this team prevailed, and they were resilient. And we had some underclassmen step up, like Noah Lutsky and Caden Woodward. They were just a true team. The era, though, of our RMS cross-country team was really set by our 8th grade class. We had actually 2 Meet Champion winners. Colin Hirschhorn accomplished the feat last year. He actually broke our school record and the home course record, and he finished first at Meet Champions as a 7th grader. And then this year, Lucas Sands did the same thing, broke the school record, the course record, and won Meet Champions as an 8th grader. So while the team fell 2 points short of winning the team title, Meet Champions here, we hosted RMS for the first time in late October. We did have 5 runners finish in the top 12, which was the 2nd straight year. What makes this group special isn't just the victories and the records, it's the legacy that they created. Your running careers are just getting started, guys. I can't wait to see what the future holds. I think that where the journey ever takes you, the accomplishments that you set here in RMS will be remembered forever. At least remembered in our back gym. There's a banner that accomplished their undefeated season that is brand new. And congratulations just on an unforgettable journey. And you're one of the greatest teams that our school's ever had. So we're going to remember you for a long time. Mr. Tipton, do you want to add anything?
Well, just basically echoing what Coach Buchan said, it was so great working with boys who were very dedicated and worked hard at every single workout, and they really earned it. And they competed so hard as a team. They also showed great sportsmanship. Once the meet's over, whatever the results are, they were very supportive of the other teams. And just to give you an idea of how close the meet was, in the Meet of Champions, where we were 2nd out of 11 teams in the conference meet, 2 of our runners were probably about 5 feet behind 2 runners that if we had caught them, we would have won. So that, we still have high respect for William Annan because they were a great team. But it was so close. But the regular season was really impressive to be 13-0, and the whole season I'm just really thankful to work with a co-coach where we and I really worked hard to get the best workouts for the team, and these student athletes always showed up and worked out really, really well, had a great time, had great sportsmanship, and competed really, really well. So really good things. Jake Srigliano. Alexander Bonatowski. Jacob Gunderman. Josh Gunderman. Alan Heinrichs. Baxter Herman. Phil Castillo. Alan Bishop. Matthew John. Michael Cole. Connor Pinzone. Zoe Letsky. Anthony Petrangelo. Leon Robo Panos. Anna Bronji. Pete Sands. Brandon Simpson. Brandon Smith. Liam Kirby. And Ian Woodward.
Thank you all for coming. This concludes our student recognitions this evening. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the Board of Education meeting. Before we go, Mr. Rizza, anything else to add?
Just congratulations to everyone's amazing accomplishments that you did.
Congratulations, amazing accomplishments. I'm grateful.
This was on, and just needed to turn this off or remove this on. Yeah, it's like it's kind of an earpiece thing. I just turned it off. That, yeah.
Take care.
The final part of my superintendent's report this evening is to review one of our strategic communication goals, which was to develop a key communicators committee. And we had a really nice meeting a couple weeks ago at the end of May, but we had a great year together. This was our first full year of doing our key communicators group. So I wanted to share with the board some of our accomplishments. Key communicators, our purpose is to receive, and provide important updates directly from the school to key stakeholders out in the community. Our key communicators group is made up of local businesses, a member of the Board of Education, Mrs. DePinto, members from the faculty and staff, Mr. Charleston, Mr. Daly, Mrs. Vance is Mrs. Vance? She's a key communicator. Our union representation from the RTA, as well as parents and community members. So we have a key group of stakeholders, and their purpose are to do these 4 things, including share insights, feedback, suggestions that help shape the schools. They serve as a liaison when they get this information from the key communicators group to the broader community, these key messages. And any concerns that they have could be addressed by me or a member of the administration or the staff. And these meetings are engaging. There's discussions on various topics related to student success, educational initiatives, and major school events. So these are just samples of some of our agendas. Key topics in our key communicators group this year were things like the referendum, strategic planning, discussing more student engagement, like having Board of Education reps come to the Board of Education meetings. Topics like Project Citizen and Viking Visionaries, where students have a day of community service out in the community with local partners, as well as Project Citizen, where students engage with community members in a project of their own passion or their own interest, as well as a multi-generational literacy program that we began this year at White House School that includes members of the senior community, older students from RMS, as well as elementary students, where they engage with literature and after-school reading club. So these are some of our agendas. You can see that these were some of our big topics over the course of our 3 meetings this year. And in May, we had our celebration meeting. The key communicators had several, we talked about several key goals in this May meeting. We celebrated our accomplishments. We reviewed the entire year and all of the things that we were able to do with students and enhance for students over the course of the year. And we generated excitement and talked about opportunities for the future. So these are some snapshots of our meeting. You can see the stakeholders around the table in this room. Me doing a presentation, actually some presentation very similar to this, celebrating all of our accomplishments. And these accomplishments include strategic planning. Our key communicators group, when we met back in January, one of the things that we discussed with them was the fact that we were going to need and require community input for our strategic plan. Remember, our strategic plan included one-on-one meetings, surveys, focus groups. We engaged our community, and we had a high participation rate, especially from members of our community that don't necessarily have children in the schools. We really wanted to hear the voice of those folks in terms of what they would like to see for the future of our district. We explained to the key communicators group the process, the core team meetings, how we mapped out long-term goals, and how we're currently developing some action steps for strategic planning. We showed them some photos of our work in action during our strategic planning sessions. One of our huge successes this year is undoubtedly the passing of a referendum. We met with the key communicators group back in October, and the purpose of our meeting when discussing the referendum was to ensure that we got community support for the referendum. It was easy for us as a school to engage our parent community and our staff, but really to have our key communicators go out into the community where there were members and citizens who did not necessarily have children in the district, and provide the message of the referendum. Those key messages were how those key messages led to the success of the referendum. Those messages talked about the tax impact, the improvements that were going to be made to the schools. We had a strong communication campaign. We engaged all of our stakeholders, and our clear messaging led us to the successful vote. And here are some photos. Hollenbrook School, we've started to install the smart boards. There are some boxes there too, and some of them were sitting in boxes before spring break, but most were installed over spring break. And we also had, we developed plans for 2 new playgrounds at White House and Three Bridges. But the key communicators group really wrestled with in one of our meetings how to best promote the referendum and give out our communications. We created new partners through our key communicators group. Hunterdon Health came in and did an assembly for 5th grade students. At the bottom of the slide deck, you'll see they came in and did something called an Oregon Road Show, where they brought in healthy and non-healthy organs to show students impacts of things like smoking and to show them what a brain may look like, what a healthy heart looks like, and what healthy habits and healthy eating and exercise can do to your body or lack thereof can do to your body. Fifth graders loved it, they enjoyed it. You see members of the hospital presenting to students. It was a great day. I've been serving through these new partnerships. I've been serving on a Partnership for Health, which is a group of Hunterdon County stakeholders that meet with the communications officer over at Hunterdon Medical Center to talk about overall health conditions in Hunterdon County. And these partners range from hospital members, our Department of Health, Emergency Management, Prevention Resources are at these meetings. Go Hunterdon are at these meetings. It's an entire group of Hunterdon County stakeholders, and they needed some leadership from the schools and asked me to sit on the Partnership for Health committee. And we created a nice partnership with Morada Senior Center. The top picture is the Halloween concert we did at the Senior Center, which led into a holiday concert in December at the Senior Center. And that was one of the opportunities that I had to go visit the Senior Center and shamefully handed out referendum packets back in October for the Halloween concert. I think most significantly, the Key Communicators group has 2 students from the middle school sit on our committees, and there's been a ton of community engagement in terms of enhancing programs and opportunities for students to be out in the community. The BWIN Multi-Generational Literacy Program was developed by Dr. Bagels over at White House School, and it includes a senior from our community who sits and reads, like you see in the pictures with children in the elementary schools, grades K through 3, but we also bring students from the middle school to participate as well. So it's kind of like 3 different generations of individuals sitting and interacting with the text. There were certain themes, there were projects, there was writing. Dr. Bagels gave a survey to see how well students, the seniors and the middle schoolers liked the program, and the results were relatively positive, that they want to do it again and we're going to expand again next year. And then in terms of civic engagement, as you've seen from Mr. Daly, Project Citizen was today over at the municipal building, Viking Visionaries was last week. Through our Key Communicators group, Mr. Daly's been able to connect our community with our students, so when we do these days of service, or when our students need an expert in the field somewhere in the community to engage their passion project, we have connections out in the community. So we've accomplished a lot in terms of civic engagement between students and our community. So we've done quite a bit of work. I'm proud of this group. It's our first full year. We launched last May with 1 meeting, and I think we really got some momentum over the course of the year this year. I'm proud of everything that our staff and our students are doing, and I want to thank the Key Communicator group for their engagement and their participation. It's a hugely successful program and something that we worked hard over the course of the year to accomplish. So thank you. Are there any questions from the board?
Not a question, but just thank you for letting me be a part of it this year. It's really nice to see. I think every town should have one. It's really great seeing and inspiring seeing everyone just willing to help, sharing ideas and really, trying to make connections between the students and the seniors in our town. I think was really nice to see. And it's such I think a great idea, a great group, and it'll be nice to see where it goes from here. Yeah.
One of the things we talked about, and Mrs. DePinto just reminded me of this, when we engage with the senior community, so being part of the Partnership for Health group, the medical center has published their health needs assessments on their website. One of the things that the Partnership for Health is trying to tackle in our community is social isolation, particularly for the senior community. And by having a group like this where students are engaging with seniors, not only with those concerts, but even with the BWIN program, really helps bring seniors out of their homes to engage with people that are younger, to read books, to share information and knowledge. And I think it's a really nice way for us to help try to combat that social isolation. It's really easy in the year 2026 with technology and with the mobility of some of our senior community for them to feel isolated. So if we can do our small part to help with that strategic goal of the medical center, I think it's really important. So it was a great group. Thank you.
That concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Hart. Next item on our agenda is the first public forum. It's for any action items on the agenda. So if you'd like to speak for any items on the agenda, please come forward, state your name and town, sign in, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, I'm Jason Elizabeth, Easy Township. I noticed agenda item 407, which is, I guess, related to policy and regulation 2535. We're appointing a board member. And I just would like to ask the chair, according to what I remember of this only happens when a book is challenged. Has a book been challenged?
Yeah, I'll answer. I normally don't answer questions, but yes, the book has been challenged.
Okay. I guess my next comments are, is there a way we can get an outline of the procedure, like when we find out what book has been challenged? What is the actual process that will be going into this? Seems to be happening at the end of the year. I know we're going to be redoing rates and everything. What are the, is there any additional cost based on that?
Yeah, we'll address comments at the end.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Kathy Chernia, Reddington. So that we know that the 407 is a real thing. I always want to remind everybody when I come into this room where I come from. My family survived Nazis and I survived communist regime of Poland when we had a censorship office that controlled books, newspapers, media, and performances. The list goes on and on. So when I look at tonight's agenda, all I have to say is, here we go. With this item on 407, I'm hoping that it's not one of you who made this complaint, like somebody that did last time. Are we going to drag the librarian in front of this board, behind closed doors, and make her explain herself, her credential, her choices, her judgment? Will the public get a chance to speak and object, or is this going to be done in the dark? I suspect we don't even get a chance to say a word. But let me tell you how it should be done. This story takes place not far from here. In the months leading up to May 2024, North Hunterdon High School was engulfed in public outrage over a book called Let's Talk About It. A parent stood at a microphone and read passages aloud, demanding its immediate removal. The book was written for teenagers too scared to ask the adults in their lives about sex, sexuality, and relationships. Rather than be grateful about such a resource existing, they manufactured the outrage. The librarian was called a pedophile and a groomer. Then this backfired. The community showed up in undeniable numbers. The board voted to keep the book, and that librarian won a national award for standing up to censorship. This is how it should be done. In the open, with the public accountable to everybody. What you are doing is the opposite. And I want you to understand what it looks like from where I'm standing as someone who lived it. Censorship never announces itself as a censorship. It starts at the edges. One sentence, one book, one librarian forced to justify herself behind closed doors. Then it moves to subjects, authors, entire body of thought. That is exactly how it always has been built by every censor in every regime throughout the history. You have chosen which side of history you are going to be on. Now you will reap the consequences of your choice.
Okay, any other comments?
Well, my name is Judy Roth. I'm currently a resident of Brownton Township. I did live in Redmond Township for many years. I'd like to echo my concerns about censorship in whatever form it takes. And it's very denigrating to the librarian to put them through this as well. And so I want to voice my support for librarians and for the availability of resources for students. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Al Stankovich. I've been a resident here of Bregington Township for 20 years. I have 3 stepkids that grew and accomplished with the help of the schools here. By and large, they provided a quality education. Thank you for that. Part of that is because of the community involvement in the schools and the school board. One thing that is bothering me is last time I was at a meeting here, there was a discussion on the book banning. And I was disturbed that the board passed that despite the more overwhelming objections of the community. It was acknowledged that that policy had faults. It was offered to reconsider the faults, rewrite the policy, and resubmit it for passage. That was refused. It was passed anyway, again, against the wishes of the community. Now I understand the policy has been forwarded to the State Board of Education for review. However, despite there being faults in it, and despite being out for review, the Board of Education here is attempting to implement it before we hear back about correcting the flaws in the policy.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The policy is being implemented despite the flaws and despite not having received feedback from the State Board of Education. Is that true?
We'll answer questions at the end. I'll answer that afterwards. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm gonna close our public forum. As normally, we don't generally answer questions, but sometimes we do, depending on what the questions are. They're usually more factual in nature. Most of the questions here were factual, so we can actually give some answers to them. I'll start off and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Hart to actually go over the process of how it's gonna happen. A couple of comments. One, there's a regulation 2535, which we're all familiar with. The portion that on book challenges was not changed. It's exactly as given to us by the state. So we're following exactly the regulations. So the portion that we changed was not about book challenges. That's word for word from the state, so we're gonna follow that process. So just to answer you that one question, so it's not the part that was controversial to use from a couple months ago. The other thing is we will announce what the book is. We will do the challenge. It's obviously operable, but we reached out to an attorney. We're just gonna put it out there, most likely redacted so people can see the challenge itself. It's not, we don't think it's confidential, but we are waiting for our board counsel just to confirm that. And then we'll make the actual complaint public. So that answers your question, right, Mr. Luca?
Yes, what is the timeline for the expected?
Yeah, and I'll let Dr. Hart go through the actual timelines on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to exactly follow policy. Regulation 2535 is extremely specific in what needs to be done. So a challenge was made, we have it, and we're going to start going through the process. So today's first thing is item 407 is the board gets to select a member to be on the board. It doesn't have to be a board member, so it could be anyone that the board selects to actually be one of, I think it's 7 review people. So that's specifically in regulation 2535. So we're going to be doing that. So that's all 407 is the board today. Hopefully we'll get a vote saying that we nominate somebody and we accept that person and they'll represent it. There's another half dozen people that are selected by the superintendent. Extreme process on that. So Dr. Hart, if you want to talk about the process.
Sure. So the book complaint, according to our regulation, gets received by the school principal. Within 5 days, the school principal has to forward the complaint to me so I can convene this committee that Mr. Rizza had mentioned. The committee will consist of the superintendent, the school principal, the library's media specialist, a representative selected by the board, which will occur tonight, one age-appropriate teacher, so a teacher that has knowledge of the book or the grade band of the book, a parent of a student enrolled in the school district, a student if we were grades 9 through 12, but we're not, so a student will not sit on the committee, and any additional members the superintendent deemed necessary. So one of our supervisors who's familiar with the humanities and language arts will also sit on the committee. It's our first time going through the new regulation, so this new regulation is in conformity with the new statute. And one of the things that we noticed as we were reading it really closely was that the timeline calls for 60 school days until that committee has to render a decision the committee has to recommend a decision to the Board of Education. The way we interpret that is school days will stop on June 19th and then they'll pick back up again in September. So what I'd like to do before the end of the school year is convene the committee, talk with them about reading the book over the summer, their availability, and then look to try to schedule a meeting sometime in the fall to have the committee convene, have a discussion about the book, and then move from there to make a recommendation to the Board of Education. So, tentatively, and I just want to say tentatively because I have not talked to all of the individuals on the committee, we're looking at possibly the process stopping or pausing over the summer just because it's not a school day and then picking back up in September, so that we don't have to put any kind of summer expectation on our certificated staff who traditionally don't work in the summer. But that's the rough timeline, Mr. Baluka.
Okay, I think we answered the questions. Any question we didn't answer?
Well, the timeline for also hearing back from the lawyer to announce it, when is that expected?
For the complete, that is a legal matter, so we really don't discuss legal matters. And you're talking about the one that's filed with the DOE, right?
No, I'm just saying, you said you were going to announce the book as soon as you hear back from your lawyer. It was going to be.
Oh yeah, releasing the complaint. Yeah, we'll find that out relatively soon. And most likely, like someone's either going to open it, so to avoid that, we're just going to proactively put it out there. Most likely, we just have to redact a few things, but it'll probably be on our website. We'll probably hear back tomorrow, to be honest with you. So we'll be out there relatively quick.
So days, not months.
The complaint will be out there. We have to hear back from our council. Once we have that, we'll put it on the website.
Thank you.
Okay, we will close our public session. Our next item is correspondence. We received 5 correspondence. They're on record with the board secretary. Next item, we're going to move into board actions. We have, the first one is an approval of administrative reports. We have 3 items, 101 through 103. Can I have a motion followed by a second?
Justina, motion. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, Mr. Bowman?
Mrs. Cassidy.
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore.
Yes.
Mr. Lopes.
Yes.
Mrs. Menser.
Yes.
Mrs. Rad.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan.
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto.
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Our next item is approval of minutes. We have 2 items, 201 through 202. Can I have a motion followed by a second, please?
I'll move, Ellen.
Okay, any discussion? Mr. Bowman?
Mrs. Cassidy.
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore.
Yes.
Mr. Lopes.
Yes.
Mrs. Menser.
Abstain.
Mrs. Rad.
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan.
Yes.
Mrs. DePinto.
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Our next item is finance and facilities. 28 items to move. There's no committee report this month, but we are meeting tomorrow, so we'll have one next month when we meet. So can I have a motion for items 301 through 328 and then a second?
Motion. Second.
Second, okay. A lot of items. Any discussion on any of them?
I just have one question. I think it's 3.24 for Machio's service contract. We renew that annually, is that correct? I just want to ask this board, we could, so here's my question. If we wanted to look into the cost of the lunch and potentially increasing that cost in the future, I'm not saying it's the right time now, but when would we potentially do that? At what point is the contract renewal?
So this year, we had to go out to bid for a new contract, because you're, after 5 years of renewal, you must go out. So this resolution is for the first bid results of it, which will allow us to renew every single year for the next 5 years, should the board want to, which we are reviewing Finance Committee. Each year, there's a tool the New Jersey Department of Agriculture requires us to use to see if we must increase food prices for staff and students, including breakfast, which we serve. But that's an annual decision that can be made at the Finance Committee level, also at the board level, by board resolution. So the determination to increase or not would be up to the board.
On annual, I wasn't sure if it was on every 5-year cycle that happens. All right,
That's just
thank
a
you.
bid every 5 years, but annual renewals with annual price increases.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other items? Okay.
Ms. Cassidy.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
I was making a face, but I really wanted to congratulate this board, the administration, and previous boards. After the presentation of awards earlier today, it's really evident that we are investing in students beyond just the academics, and that with your financial stewardship, we're ensuring that we retain our music programs, we're retaining our sports programs, A and B, which is not available to every school in the area. So I really want to acknowledge the hard work that you've done, and it's remarkable. And you can see with the number of positions that we've been able to. Well, sorry, I think that's in the next section. Like financially, you've really done a fantastic job, and I wanted to thank you for your hard work and your efforts.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Again, Ms. Bowman?
Ms. Cassidy.
Yes.
Ms. Stewart.
Yes.
Mr. Lopes.
Yes.
Ms. Menzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Rye.
Yes, but I'm just gonna abstain from 3.2.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Ms. DePinto.
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay. So for EdTech, we do have a committee report, and we have 8 items. So I want to give you a little preface before we motion them. So we're going to do a motion for items 401 through 408. 407, as we talked about earlier, is the board nominating and voting on a member to sit on the committee, as Dr. Hart explained a few minutes ago. We're going to have to do an amendment on that. So I'll go through the process and I have to give like a legal disclaimer as well. So for right now, all we're going to do is I'm going to ask for a motion for 401 through 408. Paolo, you'll have to abstain on 407. Okay, on the when we go there. So that being said, can I get a motion and a second on 401 through 408? Motion, okay, second? Second, okay. So before we get to 407, we're just gonna get the committee report on EdTech, and then I'll go further into that.
EdTech met on May 18th. We went over a preschool program assessment overview. 3 key measurements, tools to track program effectiveness. Curriculum fidelity tool. It measures creative curriculum implementation across 45 indicators. TPOT assesses pyramid model usage for social, emotional learning and behavior support. ESSERS 3 evaluates overall program quality across 10 randomly selected classrooms. There are 2 tools that track student progress. ASQ3 screen tool, completed by parents at the year start for early intervention identification. Goal assessment provides actual student development data. Curriculum fidelity results. Dramatic improvement from spring 2025 to spring 2026.
Implementation increased 86% to 90%. Fidelity use increased 65% to 76%. Major breakthrough in gold data collection. In spring of 2025, only 40% teachers effectively collecting student data. Spring of 2026, 94% of staff now collecting and utilizing gold data appropriately. One provider is performing below district average at 67% fidelity versus 88% overall. Social and emotional learning progress. TPOT assessment shows significant gains across all areas. Overall averages across key practices jumped from 61% 2025 to 87% in 2026. Among the following focus areas, improvement was made. Teaching behavioral expectations from 42% to 87%. Social and emotional competencies, 44% to 84%. Interventions from challenging behavior, 22 to 90%. We had 0 child study team referrals this entire school year. Only 4 PERT cases and 1 monitoring case currently active. Program quality assessment with ESSERS 3. ESSERS 3 conducted by an external assessors across 10 classrooms. Significant score variations between buildings, standard deviations of 1 to 2 versus the typical 0.5. Math identified as a primary weakness area statewide and will be a preschool goal. Plan to use internal coaches for next year's ESSERS 3. Assessment to ensure standardized evaluation. Preschool goal, math curriculum enhancement initiative. Create a curriculum provides insufficient math guidance despite overall effectiveness. New Jersey released updated early learning math standards this month. Summer curriculum writing project plan. Collaborate with state liaison, math specialists involved in writing new standards. Create goal-oriented math activities integrated into daily creative curriculum schedule. Align with kindergarten readiness requirements. Mr. Tumolo presented Summer Teacher Academy. He had a list of course descriptions and dates were shared with the committee. 21 courses will be taking place this summer, taught by teachers and administrators. Dr. Brown presented on the reading portfolio log data analysis. Low parent engagement despite 80% of parents who opted into the portfolio. Instructional time impact was 5 to 10 minutes weekly on an average. 84% of teachers find the tool not valuable for instruction or record keeping. Lowest performing students spend most time on form versus actual reading instruction. Some solutions discussed with reading log will be a homework assignment starting in 2026, making reading portfolio optional for teachers starting in September 2026. Bradenton will add the form to the website for easier access to the parents. Teachers will remind parents during back to school night about reading topics and the ability to opt out of reading certain books. Next topic was sex education opt-out trends. Stable participation rates across grade levels. Grade 2 had a lower opt-out number than previous years. Grades 4 to 5, consistent with historical data. Grades 6 to 8, slightly lower than past years. 24 students opted out district-wide, grades 3 through 8th. The committee recommended future opt-out trends for sex education updates are not needed. Then we received the NJSLA updates. Testing went smoothly, considering test challenges and scheduling challenges. A board member had asked about the NJSLA opt-outs. The supervisor identified the majority of the opt-outs in 8th grade were often due to private school transitions for high school. That concludes my minutes. The next meeting was yesterday, it was on 6/8/8:30.
Thank you, Howard. Before I go into 407, which I'm sure we'll have discussion, any items outside of 407 that we want to bring up and discuss?
I just have a question, and I apologize, I didn't ask this when you sent the minutes out, but I thought we discussed the reading log being on Genesis, not on.
Yeah, so that was
Sorry.
yesterday's, Monday's meeting. So this is the Ed Tech agenda from, I guess, a month ago. So we had one yesterday, so we're gonna have another committee report. We just didn't have a chance to do it. It's okay. You can bring it up, talk about it if you want, but it just hasn't been, we haven't been shared.
Yesterday.
I did want to also talk about the reading log. I sat in on that Ed Tech committee meeting, even though as a substitute, I'm not typically on that committee. And I just wanted to tell the board members who didn't participate in that meeting or had a chance to look at the documents that were associated with that meeting, that just to dive into a little bit about this reading log. This was an initiative that was driven by the board to come up with some way to connect parents with what their child is reading. This was implemented in the fall. The teachers at Back to School Night pushed this. The students all year have been going into these logs and writing which book they're reading. I guess what they got out of their classroom library. Dr. Hart, which I'm very thankful, or Dr. Brown, whoever came up with this survey to see, is this actually working and be a useful tool? So this data was presented in that meeting. And the interesting thing to me is that we, while there were a few very small handful of parents who were accessing that log and looking at what their child is reading, majority of parents were not looking at that. There is not this big uproar and concern about the books in our schools. Because if there was, more parents would be looking at that portfolio. So I just wanted to point that out for anyone who wasn't in the meeting and didn't get a chance to look at that when that came across. So thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And like, we did discuss this on Monday in detail, and we do have an update on that. So we could bring it up now, or we could wait till next board meeting.
Discuss it? It was a discussion, so I don't know, that's allowed?
Yeah.
Okay, so we did discuss it yesterday as well. We went back through the data and the survey, and there was a couple of points that were brought up, is that this form is actually in Clever. Parents, I don't think, go into Clever. That's a tool for the students. There is no parent login for Clever. There's a staff login and there's a student login for Clever. What parents log into is Genesis to look at grades. So, and the other fact to this is that students can actually opt the parents out of it. So I don't think that information is accurate at all.
Okay. So one of the things that came up, so just given advance notice, because this was discussed on Monday and hasn't been circulated yet in the Ed Tech, is that one of the members of the administration came up with a suggestion that in September on a Genesis system, we're going to ask a question. Would you want to maybe get a little bit more detail on that, Dr. Hart?
8:27 p.m. It's we don't have it finalized yet, but the suggestion was to, when parents log into Genesis at the beginning of the school year, they sign a bunch of forms, right? Forms that include whether or not your child can be photoed, whether or not your child can interact with the therapy dog, that you certify that you've read certain policies, those sorts of things. That we could develop a question that says, do you want to monitor your child's reading through a reading log or something along those lines? That's not a well-worded question just yet, so there's an asterisk right there. Just to see what the interest is among the parents to actually have access to some sort of log to monitor their child's reading. From there, that can drive administrative decision-making on what, if any, tool needs to be implemented, whether it's an individual parent thing or whether it's really the kind of issue that the data suggested in the Ed Tech committee that we had last time. So that's our starting point. We haven't communicated this yet broadly to our staff and to the teachers. So I just want to be cautious that because this communication hasn't gone any further, I want to be sure that whatever the decision is at that level, that we handle the proper training and tools so that teachers know the expectation or aware what needs to be done or what doesn't need to be done in the future. I want to caution the board about that because we did not roll anything out after the Ed Tech meeting we had in May. We didn't communicate anything about what you just read, Paulo, in the minutes. And if any changes are gonna happen, we haven't communicated that yet either.
I just wanted to add to that. I mean, I thought it was a great solution to do that. I was happy with that. But those board members that maybe don't have students in the school district or not familiar with it, those questions have to be answered in order for you to get your teacher assignment in your schedule. So that would be a great way to have parents actually answer the question as opposed to a survey.
But I know the teachers did, they put it on their slides to back to school night. That the intention was to create a link that parents could bookmark and they could continually go in throughout the school year. I want to give the teachers credit for following through with the initiative and following up with the parents and doing the best they can to manage a new process. And if the process wasn't working, I think we have to revisit it some way or another. It'll be okay, everybody. I got you.
So in other words, looking to get more data.
Right, exactly. It's just, that's the only way we'll get more data is if we actually have parents answer the question. Yeah.
All right, before we go into 407, any other comments, discussion items? Okay, I got 407. All right, so I'm just gonna read it aloud before I go into, it's gonna be more procedural and basically, so we're gonna have a few votes that go on this from a procedure perspective, make sure we follow Robert's rules. So if you see why we're voting a few times, it should be evident if I explain it well. So the motion says, motion to appoint blank as a representative selected by the Board of Education in accordance with District Regulation 2535, library materials. We need to select somebody. The policy says, or the regulation says, it could be a board member or it could be anybody selected by the board. So we're gonna vote on this today. So because it's blank, we have to amend the motion. We just can't vote on a blank motion. So we're gonna go through, I'm gonna ask if anyone has nominees that they want to go forward on this, to be on this committee, open it up to the board. If we have items or people, if one person gets nominated, we'll just do one amendment. If multiple people come in, we'll do two votes. So let's just say person one and person two both get nominated. We'll do an amendment to add this person on. If it passes, we won't do the second one and so on. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, does anyone want to nominate somebody? We'll do an amendment on that, and then we'll actually do a vote on it afterwards as well. Okay, because you have to vote on something. So unfortunately, because there's no name, we have to do an amendment. It's just how it works. So at this point, I thought about this, and I'm going to make a nomination, and then anyone else could vote. I would like to nominate Justina to be on the board, representative. So that'd be my nomination. Anyone else have a nomination that they would like? Jen?
I had not realized till I read the regulation exact language, but you're right, it says representative recommended by the board. And I would like to propose that we bring in a former board member who has sat on this board before, who's sort of independent of any of the conversations and the discussion on this policy and regulation, but is also trained on board policy and how we operate. And I see Carol Hampel sitting in the audience, I see Jake Betterman right now. Neil Cercello is a former president. It's just a few names I was coming up with that I think would be educated and experienced and independent individuals.
Okay, so we have Justina Ryan, Carol Hampel, anyone else? Okay, does anyone want to have any discussion on either one?
I have a discussion. Yes, please. I'm sorry, Mike?
Before we do that, I have to say one more thing I forgot to say. I did speak with board council. As you guys probably figured out and asked Paolo to abstain, is that Mr. Lopes is the one who submitted the request. Now, because of that, the challenge, he's not allowed to have any discussion, and he's going to abstain completely from this. And then we do votes, he's going to have to abstain as well. When this comes back in September, October, November, whenever the report comes before the committee, Paolo's also going to have to abstain from any discussion and any votes as well. So when we go forward to here, we're going to have discussions now. Paolo will be silent, and then we do the vote. He's going to vote for abstention on 407, and however else he wants to vote on the other 7 items. So that's, where we're at on that, so Beth?
My first comment is just in our committee handbook that we've worked on for years, we designate the ed tech chair as the person who would sit on a book challenge committee. So if we're not doing that in this instance, I think we should update that piece of it that says who sits on the challenge committee. That's number one. Number two, I have an issue with Mrs. Ryan sitting on this challenge committee. During our last book challenge, the committee voted for the material to stay in the library, and Mrs. Ryan made a motion to remove the book. It did not pass, but I feel like that is biased and I don't feel like she can come to a book challenge with impartiality. That's just my personal opinion on that.
Any other comments? Okay, so I know I made the motion first. I was gonna go in order of the motion, but since I made it first, I kind of maybe surprised people. What I'll do is I'll go in reverse order. So the first amendment I'm gonna suggest is the suggestion by Pam for Carol Campbell.
So I'll make a motion that.
But yeah, I'm gonna make a motion. I'll make a motion, and you can second it. So the first one is a motion to amend 407 to say, motion to appoint Carol Campbell as the representative selected by the Board of Education with accordance with District Regulation 2535, library materials. Can I have a motion for the amendment? I'll motion it. Second? Second. Any discussion on the amendment?
I have a clarifying question.
Yep.
Do we need to have Carol's approval that she would accept
Here we
this?
go.
Check with her, or?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I know.
So Carol, if you were appointed, would you, I know Carol. are you-
She's not here.
Oh,
She
oh,
left already.
Yeah.
I assume there's also gonna be other members like selected for this committee who would be on.
So we really can't vote. That's a good point. She's not here. I thought okay, so we can't really say Carol because that's you. But I'm gonna modify the motion to say motion to appoint I'm gonna say a next board member as a representative selected by the Board of Education in accordance with the district regulation 2535 library materials. I'll motion that. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on that before we vote on the amendment? Thank you, Michelle, for bringing that up. Okay, Mr. Bowman.
Mrs. Cassidy,
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Abstain.
Mrs. Menser,
Yes.
Mrs. Rod,
Wait, are we voting that we want that person to be on? No.
You go.
Mrs. Ryan,
No.
Mrs. Pinto.
No.
Mr. Rizzo.
No. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the second motion. The motion to appoint Justina Ryan as a representative selected by the Board of Education in accordance with District Regulation 2535, library materials. I'm gonna do a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Okay, any discussion on this item? Okay, we get a roll call vote.
Mrs. Cassidy,
No.
Mrs. Fiore,
No.
Mr. Lopes,
Abstain.
Mrs. Menser,
No.
Mrs. Rod,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Pinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo? Yes. Okay, so now 407 has been amended. So now when we vote for 401 through 408, we're going to vote for 407 as amended. Paolo's going to abstain again. Any comments on 401 through 408 before we take a roll call? Okay, Mr. Bowman?
Mrs. Cassidy.
I'm sorry, please clarify, is this 401 to 408?
Yes.
So I'm yes, 401, 406, 408, no 407.
Mrs. Fiore,
Same.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes, except for 407, I abstain.
Mrs. Menser,
Yes, except for 407, which is a no.
Mrs. Rod,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is personnel, and we have 25 items to move. So can I get a motion and a second for 501 through 525? Motion.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, and we do have a committee report. Christina?
The committee met on May 22nd. We discussed staffing updates for the 26-27 school year. We then discussed enrollment for the 26-27 school year. Enrollment at Three Bridges increased slightly, but class sizes across all schools remain reasonable and stable. The committee also discussed the 81 units of affordable housing being developed on the Three Bridges side of town. At this time, the township has not received any applications, and future applications will include information regarding the ages of children residing in the units. Dr. Hart continues to remain in communication with the township. However, a board member suggested that a representative from the board attend township committee and or planning board meetings related to the new housing developments. The committee then discussed 2 personnel matters, and the agenda items are new hires, transfers, authority for the superintendent to hire over the summer, and we set our next meeting for June 12th at 8:30 a.m.
Okay. Any discussion items? Okay, Ms. Bowman?
Ms. Cassidy,
Yes.
Ms. Fiore,
Yes.
Mr. Lopes,
Yes.
Mrs. Menser,
Yes.
Mrs. Rad,
Yes.
Mrs. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. DePinto,
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes. All right, next item is policy and communication. We have 4 items to move, 601 through 604. Can I have a motion followed by a second?
I'll move.
Second.
Second, okay. Committee report?
The committee met on June 1st at 3:30. The first item we discussed was policy 2535. We discussed whether or not the committee would like to further revise the language prior to meeting with the attorney next week, which was this week. One committee member provided language that she felt would better serve the policy. It was suggested that sensitive topics be replaced with advanced materials, and to remove the last sentence from the regulation that states the panel's review process may include presentation of the material to the Ed Tech Committee of the Board of Education for further review. The committee member expressed concern that the regulation violates the law because she feels it is saying the librarians will be commanded to bring any book with sensitive content to the review panel. A committee member shared that she disagreed with changing sensitive topics to advanced materials because sensitive topics is consistent with district language, and mentioned that it is used in a letter sent home to district parents in September alerting them that there are books in the library as well as classroom libraries that address serious or sensitive topics that they may wish to discuss at home. One committee member offered that she would be open to bringing over the language from the policy into the regulation to clarify that it is not every book with sensitive topics and only books where educational value may be outweighed by adverse content. In response to the suggestion that the review panel's possible presentation to the Ed Tech Committee be removed from the regulation, one board member stated that historically the Ed Tech Committee used to review library books up until a few years ago, and the regulation states that the librarian has the discretion to bring the books to the panel, and the panel has the discretion to present it to the committee if they feel it is necessary. One committee member feels strongly that we should strictly follow Strauss-Esme's policy and not spend any more money on this. As a result of the discussion, Dr. Hart will bring our suggestions to the attorney for input. The second item we discussed were the updated policies from our Strauss-Esme audit. Policy 0175, contracts with independent consultants. This policy is good as is and does not require any changes. Policy 1110, organizational chart. Simple statement that the organizational chart is located in the superintendent's office. The personnel committee reviews this chart every year and keeps it up to date. Policy 3324, right of privacy. This policy is good to have. Dr. Hart highlighted how this policy speaks to our acceptable use policy when it comes to audio and video recording. Staff will be made aware of this policy to avoid any issue with social media, etc. Policy 3340, grievance. This policy speaks to teaching staff members that are not in the teachers union agreement. This policy mirrors the contract and will work for those staff members. This brings the staff through different levels of grievance, beginning with the direct supervisor, then superintendent, then the board. Policy states board decision is final. Policy 3410, compensation. This policy will be helpful for certificated teaching staff that are not a part of the negotiated agreement. This policy explains how substitute teachers are hired. It covers how summer ESY teachers and speech therapists are paid. The committee recommended that we adjust the language that references the rate of pay for the speech therapist, that it should be reworded to mention that the rate is a minimum. This will avoid issues should that amount change. Dr. Hart will make that change. The following policies were considered but not updated, and or they were policies with errors that have been corrected. So policy 1642, earned sick leave, does not apply to our district. It is for unaligned per diem non-regular employees. We do not need this policy. Our district maintains policy 1642.01 for sick leave. Policy 2230, curriculum guides, was previously approved but not posted. It has now been posted. Policy 2428.1, standards-based instructional priorities. This policy is not needed and not mandated. It overlaps with several policies in the 2000 series that speak to the same topic. Policy 3351, healthy workplace environment. After review of this policy, Dr. Hart would like to add some language to 3281 as it would work more appropriately in that policy. Policy 3440, travel expenses. Policy 6471 was adopted to abolish 3440. This policy is abolished at this time. We then discussed AI-related policies for update. During the last committee meeting, a member suggested that prohibited use of AI be added to the handbook. Dr. Hart met with the leadership team and added language to the handbook. Policy 2361 and 5701 now mentions that we have an AI handbook. During the review of policy 2361, a committee member mentioned that we need to address the part that mentions having a yearly public hearing on internet safety and making sure we add this to our agendas when the tech department gives their annual report to ensure we get community feedback. We then moved on to Strauss SMA Alert 237. We received 3 of several policies from Alert 237. These 3 policies are revised due to changes to the New Jersey Code, Chapter 6A 8. Policy 1230, superintendent's duties, it's mandated and revised. Minor changes, so the language is consistent with the code. Policy guide 1230 is mandated because a board-approved job description is an essential component for the required evaluation process. Policy 2200, curriculum, this is a mandated revised policy. Policy and regulation guides 2200 have been combined into a rewritten policy guide 2200. The new code and policy guide 2200 describe a board's responsibility for the design and delivery of curriculum and instruction needed to address the New Jersey student learning standards. Policy guide 2200 is mandated because PSAC district performance review, instruction and program indicators require the adoption of a policy on curriculum. Policy 2411, career education and academic counseling, this is mandated and revised. Policy Guide 2411 is mandated as it includes the language required in the CEP Needs Assessment Section C, including guidance programs and services. This guides what we offer to our 8th grade students when selecting their courses for high school. Strauss SMA Alert 237, abolished policies and regulations. 2200 and 2411 need to be abolished because they were fully rewritten due to the code being updated. Attorney recommended update was the next item we discussed for regulation 2418, section 504, mandated. This is a mandated regulation and ensures that students with disabilities are not excluded from participation in school. It is about access to education through accommodation. The attorney reviewed our regulation and found the grievance procedure to be outdated. We need to update ours to reflect the federal law and have the 504 coordinator investigate the grievance and give their decision to the parent. However, if the parent disagrees, it needs to go straight to due process. The superintendent and board cannot get involved in disputes of federal law. We then reviewed our handbooks. The committee recommends that the handbook be updated each year to reflect the correct member names. There was a brief discussion about adding committee meeting attendance processes to the committee handbook and referencing the bylaw. The handbooks will be distributed to board members in time for discussion at the retreat over the summer. And we finally reviewed the policy tracking document. The committee continues its work on the policy tracking document. We will each highlight the policies that require immediate attention based on our notes and the Strauss audit in our assigned sections and address those as priority at our next meeting. The agenda items are policy 0175, 1110, 3324, 3340, 3410 related to the audit, policies 2361, 5701 related to AI, policies 1230, 2200, 2400 related to Alert 237,
abolish policy and regulation 2200 and 2411 related to Alert 237. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 15th at 3:30.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
So I find it ironic that we started our meeting talking about the key communicators group and asking for community stakeholder input. And later on for the strategic plan, we're going to talk about that again. We wanted stakeholder input, but for whatever reason, on policy 2535, regulation 2535, we've had stakeholder input and we're not hearing it. And I was actually excited that, okay, this was going to be kicked back to committee. We hadn't discussed it since, I think, January as a committee. This was an opportunity to take that feedback, try to come up with wording that would maybe satisfy all members of the committee. And I was really disappointed that not everyone was willing to compromise or hear the feedback that was given to us. And I'm really disappointed in that. I feel like this is costing the district money to defend this. And I would rather see that money go to student learning, to staffing, what other reason that the district facilities, you name it. I would rather see it go to that than to go to a complaint before the Department of Education and attorney fees related to that complaint.
Any other comments or discussion?
I have a comment. A couple of things that I want to address, especially after having read the policy meeting minutes. We had staff express concerns about the phrase sensitive topics. However, the letter that the administration sends to parents each September, dated September 2025, states, as part of a literacy program, 7th grade students engage with various texts through book clubs and independent reading. As students mature, so does the content of their reading materials. Some titles may address serious or sensitive topics that you may wish to discuss at home. End quote. Given that this language is already used in district communications, I am confused as to why staff are able to identify and discuss books containing sensitive topics in that context, but were unable to do so when the same terminology was included in our policy. Our use of the phrase is consistent with existing district language and communications. I also went back and reviewed the public ed tech committee meeting minutes and found that books were regularly included on committee agendas for review. For example, on June 10th, 2019, 21 books were reviewed by the board. On October 2nd, 2019, 3 books were reviewed. On January 11th, 2021, 18 books, and so forth. I have meeting minutes printed. Everybody's welcome to review them. This practice appears to have continued through June 16th, 2022, when the Ed Tech Committee meeting minutes noted, quote, the committee discussed the current protocol for which books come before the board for approval and recommends this to be further discussed in the policy committee, end quote. The policy committee subsequently met on August 4th, 2022, and its meeting minutes state, these policies were reviewed by the committee and no changes are currently proposed. Given this history, I don't understand why the practice of reviewing books in this matter stopped. Based on the meeting minutes, it appears that this had been a routine part of the process for many years, including prior to 2018. What I find particularly frustrating and concerning is that we have a current sitting board member that previously served as chair of the Ed Tech Committee in 2022 and would have been familiar with this long-standing practice. Yet during all these discussions, whether in committee, whether at board meetings, that historical context was never mentioned.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? All right. That being said, can I have a roll call vote on items 601 through 604, please?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry.
Ms. Cassidy.
Yeah.
Ms. Fiore.
Yes.
Mr. Lopes.
Yes.
Ms. Menzer.
Yes.
Ms. Rad.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Ms. DePinto.
Yes.
Ms. Rizzo.
Yes. All right. Unfinished business. NJSBA convention in October. You want to?
I just mentioned to the board members, Mr. Bohm sent out an email, I think, a couple weeks ago, something like that, just requesting board members to let him know if they're going to be going to the convention in October. I think we've got time probably up until the September board meeting at the latest to identify I forget the dates off the top of my head, but it's late October, like 20th, 21st, 22nd, something like that.
Thank you. For board self-evaluation, I'll start that off. As you know, part of our policy, we do a board self-evaluation. The way it works is the board president goes into the NJSBA website, I initiate a form, I cut and paste in the board goals, and I get a link. Once I get that, the survey's open. I send that link to each of the board members. We give them a certain amount of time to populate the survey. And then our NJSBA representative will compile the results for us and send it to us. I haven't initiated that because we have some time and we had other things going on. I didn't want to have competing things. So after this meeting, probably this week, sometime I'll actually go to the website. I'll initiate the survey and I'll send a link out to you and we'll come up with dates. Our board retreat is July 20-something.
21st.
July 21st. Which we normally go over there. We usually have either someone from NJSBA or Judy Wilson, two people we've used in the past. We can determine who we want later on, how we want to do that. Everyone add anything, Dr. Hart?
Yeah, just I can call both, and I can just reserve either Judy or NJSBA and see if they have anybody available. I think that would be the first step. I also know that we got some communication from board members who may not be able to be here on July 21st, so there's a possibility that we could maybe do a retreat in August when we have more board attendance. So we'll see. I'll check both dates with both parties. We'll get back to you.
Okay. And last year was interesting. We actually had both Judy and NJSBA give us both two presentations on it. So we actually used both. We did one.
We did.
Yeah, so they presented different. So that's just something, but just beware, I will be sending out the link later today. So you guys get it. All right, new business from the board, Township of Reddington Delegate. What's that?
Yeah, so, sorry, when we had our my personnel committee meeting, one of the things we track is enrollment, and we track enrollment through monitoring some of the housing developments in town. I've been the communication between the district and the township, talking to the township administrator or talking to the social services liaison just to find out if there are what the timeline is for housing developments and how many applications perhaps they've received, as well as any children that may have been on any applications. And there was a comment brought up by a board member that to discuss whether or not we wanted to actually have a member of the Board of Education be a liaison, if you will, between the Board of Ed and the township or the township committee. So it's just an open discussion. It can something that we certainly can table. I don't mind doing it. I've been doing it for 8 years, so I'm happy to continue. But if there's a member of the board that wants to, go to township committee meetings, engage with township members, we're certainly happy to add it to the liaison list, board appointments that we put on our committee reports. So.
A question and a comment. So that does seem to be common practice at different districts, which I kind of learned at the convention. Just thought it would kind of alleviate some of your meetings that you attend. But can you elaborate on what the responsibilities would be so then a board member knows what it entails, how much time, and to see if they'd be willing to do it?
I think the primary, if I were to create this with this board, if we were to create collaboratively what a liaison between the board and the township committee would do, I would imagine first and foremost would be attending somewhat regularly the township committee meetings to see what kinds of discussions are happening at the township level to be able to report that back to the board.
And they're monthly?
I think they're monthly, sometimes twice a month, to tell you the truth. I don't go to those meetings as often. My communication with the township committee generally goes to the township administrator, where Jason and I usually get together with him, maybe on a quarterly basis, where we discuss various issues, shared services, things like that. Or my communication is either a meeting or phone with the woman in the social services office as well. So if somebody were to take that, I think primarily would be attending the township meetings and reporting back, but also, some kind of engagement perhaps with the township administrator and social services. Although I don't know their governance structure, it may be better for like a board member to watch township committee meetings and like administrator to administrator have conversations. There might be some other, way we want to arrange it, but those are the things that I generally do. Sometimes I'll meet with the mayor, right? Sometimes I'll go over and talk with the mayor ask questions about some of the things that are going on in the township as well. And that's maybe quarterly as well.
Any questions on that before I move to strategic planning?
Mr. Rizzo, it also could be something we discuss more when we do reorg, like in preparation for reorg come January, so it doesn't have to be a right now decision.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to read the committee meeting minutes from the strategic planning. The committee met on May 18th. It was attended by myself, Pam, Richard, and Linda from the board. Administrative staff included Dr. Hart, Dr. Brown, Dr. Burns, Tim Charleston, and Judith Wilson was our facilitator. She led the strategic planning process, so she was there as well. The first thing on the agenda was a prefatory statement and goals review. We discussed that on April 29th and 30th. The strategic planning core team met to discuss the 2026 to 2031 strategic plan. In attendance were stakeholders representing the administration, staff, BOE, parents, students, and community members. Day one consisted of reviewing the various input streams, including surveys, forums, and one-on-one interviews. Day two centered on finding common themes across the feedback and culminated in creating the initial prefatory statement and goals. The committee, including members of the administration, met on May 18th to review the output of the core team. The objective was to review and possibly rephrase the goals and statement crafted by the core team while keeping the content, message, and feedback from the core team in place. The committee was able to successfully accomplish this objective. The draft goals created by the core team consisted of 4 goal statements with 2 versions of each statement. So basically there were 8 statements. Upon review of the goal statements, the committee decided to merge 2 of the goals into one while incorporating the key messages of both. While each goal had 2 draft versions, the committee highlighted items in each and created a combined version that was aligned with the output of the core team. The committee also reviewed the prefatory statement and made minor adjustments to ensure alignment with the 3 goal statements. The committee agreed that Dr. Hart and Mr. Bone would draft a fiscal goal outside of the meeting and share it with the committee. Dr. Hart was requested to share the final version of the statement and 3 goals with the core team. A proposed calendar was for the week of May 18th to 22nd. Dr. Hart would identify co-chairs. The week of May 25th to June 5th, develop the first 18 months of action plans. On the June committee meetings or June BOE meetings, share the goal statements. I'm actually going to share them now, so we have to have them as part of the agenda. And our proposed launch is September 1st. Agenda items are none. Next meeting is not scheduled. So I'm going to read the prefatory statement followed by the 4 goals that were developed. The statement is, our strategic plan serves as a guide as we navigate the intersection of traditional excellence and future-ready innovation. It is a bold commitment to elevating the teaching and learning experience within our schools. By anchoring our mission in the following 4 focus areas, we ensure that every initiative drives toward a singular goal, empowering a generation of deeply engaged thinkers, creators, and resilient citizens. Our first goal is entitled Belonging and Human Connection. Belonging is the catalyst for achievement. We cultivate a culture where every learner and educator feels valued, supported, and heard. Through intentional systems, equitable access, and amplified student voice, every member of our community is empowered to shape our collective success. Our second goal statement is entitled Academic Rigor. Academics are grounded in excellence. We will hold high expectations for every student, providing the essential supports and diverse pathways to ensure that rigor serves as a bridge to future success. By meeting students where they are, we transform potential into achievement, regardless of a student's or learning starting point. Future preparedness is the 3rd goal. In an era of unprecedented change, We empower students and educators to be wise and responsible consumers and creators in an evolving world. With an emphasis on digital literacy, critical thinking, sustainability, and essential life skills, we equip our learner community to act with confidence, discernment, and a commitment to ethical and impactful contribution. And the fiscal goal that I mentioned a little earlier is the district is committed to prudent fiscal planning and responsible budgeting practices that ensure the long-term financial health of the district while being cognizant of the impact on taxpayers. Through proactive monitoring of rising costs and strategic allocation of resources, the district will anticipate financial challenges and implement forward-thinking solutions that sustain high-quality educational programs and reflect the trust our community has placed in us. Any questions or comments?
Can you expand on the financial goal and why that is not an annual goal? Why is that part of the strategic plan?
Good point. One of the things prior to this is we did a lot of research. I did. Almost every district does have a financial goal as part of it. I thought it was important because without sound fiscal responsibility, it's hard to achieve everything else. If you're not meeting your targets, you can't buy books, you can't do this, you can't have the programs as Pam mentioned earlier without a strong financial. So I think that's why almost every district everyone has a financial goal. The word or no, that I'll defer to Mr. Bohm or Dr. Hart of how they came up with the word.
Do you have a question on the wording? Because
I don't. I don't see it as an appropriate strategic goal. I feel it's better placed as an annual goal because it's going to change throughout the 5-year plan, and to set action plans when we don't know what the contracts are going to look like for RTEA and RTAA and these things that are going to be coming within the next 5 years, to put that as a strategic goal now without knowing what our financial situation looks like, I feel is better as an annual goal. The other thing, I can see it as a strategic goal if we're going to be looking for new revenue sources or some sort of advocacy, we're going to go after the funding formula, something in that nature. But if it's just to be prudent in a financial way, I feel that's an annual goal. So the other, and I've said this before, I don't like that the process of the strategic plan was that after that meeting of 30, that the board came behind and then tacked something on that they wanted to see. I don't know if this came up in the meeting with the 30 and this rose to the occasion of a priority in that group, because I wasn't there, obviously. I just have a problem with that whole process in general of saying, well, we want to see this, so we're just going to add this on. My other thought, or the other concern I have, is that the last time we talked about how the strategic plan was going to work was that you were going to gather board input, then go back to that group of 30, I guess. I'm not sure how. And then it just was not clear, who was going to have the final say in what these goals are. So.
Okay, thanks, Beth. So I'll answer the first part. So fiscal goal did come up. It was addressed by Judy on the beginning of both days. She specifically said that post-meeting, the administration will write this goal. So it was made clear at the very beginning of both days. She started with that. And she wanted us to focus on non-fiscal goals because that's something that Dr. Hart and Mr. Bohm would write and present to the committee. So it did come up in both days. So it was presented. So it was not a surprise. The reason why fiscal responsibility, I've looked at dozens of districts' fiscal strategic plans. Every single one of them have it, because if you don't have good fiscal, nothing occurs. Look at all the districts that are doing 15% raises, 7% raises, laying off 60 teachers, doing all that, because you have to have strategic planning, have financial impact. What are you going to do a year from now? What are you going to do this? Maybe if some of these districts had better financial planning in their strategic, they wouldn't have to raise 15% taxes. So that's really what it's about, is just keeping it aware. And then there's an action plan that gets done every 18 months. So by having that action plan on finance, it just keeps the focus there so that you're not in a situation where we have to do a referendum to meet our budget, or we have to lay people off. So that's really what it is. And And that's why almost every corporation I've ever seen, one of their goals is always their customers, their employees, their finances. Look at every statement from every corporation. So that's why I believe it was in there. That's why I wanted it in there. So, and then going back to, I guess, the comments from last time, we did do things slightly different this time, all right? And one of the things that we did differently is, and I mentioned it last time, is that the core team met, right? And they came up with goals. And it's rough, I wouldn't say rough draft, it was great. Everything that came up was incorporated in the comments that everyone had, right? But what we did as a team was we just announced, just for about setting expectations that, you know what you wrote, we're gonna take it in. This is what our goals are gonna be, but we may have to rephrase it, we may rethink it. Like, for example, every one of the headers were sentences. We thought it'd be better rather than have a sentence called an academic rigor. There were certain words in there that you would almost have to need a dictionary to read, or you have to Google, I think, right? So we said, you know what, let's just simplify it. So we kept the same concept, the same exact things that came out of it, but we just made it a little cleaner, that's all. So there's no new goals came out, no new statements. It was really just a rephrasing. And it was a joint thing between the administration of 4 people and the board. So if you read this, you read the originals, they're identical except for rephrasing. That's really the whole part, just to make it cleaner. That was really the whole purpose of it. I don't know if I answered your questions in that part.
I have an idea. I'm sitting here thinking about your comment, Beth, too, about fiscal responsibility. And when we meet as a strategic group, or when the chairs with their committees meet, they will set about 18 months worth of work, action steps. And I wonder if maybe, to your point, a suggestion that the board could take is Jason and I can meet and create action steps in a budget cycle for the fiscal goal, so that we don't have, for example, long drawn out 5-year action steps, or 18-month action steps, or 24-month action steps, but maybe, if it's okay with the board and the finance committee, when we do our fiscal goal, Jason and I can sit in the summer and look at the year ahead, right? Here are some of the challenges, here are some of the health benefit increases we know we're negotiating with this bargaining unit this year, and create some specific action steps related to the fiscal goal, so that we're not looking too far ahead where we can't properly manage our finances, but maybe we look at setting, I don't know if I want to call them sub goals, but maybe we have the action step be like 12 months or a budget cycle at a time, so that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves or too far behind. That might be a suggestion that could accomplish maybe what your concern is, but at the same time,
It's an annual goal. So I guess my biggest concern with the financial goal is that it puts work on the VA office, where they're doing a fantastic job as it is. And then to say that we're going to be tracking this and we're going to be, I feel like it's putting this pressure and more work on the team to be doing this, when this isn't an area where I understand if some districts, this is an area that they really need to focus on. While this is an area we need to focus on, this to me doesn't rise to the occasion of a 5-year plan of how we're going to get from point A to point B. I feel these annual budgetary timelines that you're talking about is more appropriate.
And it's involved, but if you don't focus on it, you don't action plans, you find yourself possibly in trouble. That's all this is, keeping the focus on it. That's what you're doing. That's where the action plans come in. Because if you don't focus on it, you could find yourself in a situation where you're in financial trouble. So that's, like I said, I looked at so many districts. Every district has some version of a finance or facilities one in there. So I don't know.
Yeah, I had a question for Jason, because you're closest to this. Long-range financial planning is part of running a business or our own individual expenses. Can you just share a little bit about what you're currently doing that extends beyond a year, and how this may or may not impact the workload that you're carrying?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, most of budgeting can be year to year because of the nature of state aid and how that impacts about 10% of our budget, and federal grants, which can be changing administration. But from a long-term perspective, our costs are tied up in salaries and benefits. So the negotiations team has a large impact on that because settling long-term agreements with the various unions allows us for fiscal stability. And going along with that, there very likely will be a new law in place from the state on healthcare when the current one elapses in 2027. That will also allow us to plan for multiple years through NJEA and state probably negotiations. So other things that we've come up in the finance committee as well as utilities, where we're progressing, where 85% of our budget will be solar. So the long-term aspect is there for a lot of things, but also there are some annual things. So tracking those is feasible in either aspect you guys determine.
Can I help answer? Jason is going to undersell himself here now. So let me move backwards and then we'll move forwards. We started talking probably 5 to 7 years ago about the referendum that just passed in November. So when it comes to things like long-term planning, it was on our radar. So like that might be some kind of like long-term financial goal. We talked about upcoming facilities projects more than 18 to 24 months in advance as far as long-term planning. Both of us are aware of the fact that we're going to negotiate with one bargaining unit next year and then the other bargaining unit the following year. We're also well aware of the health benefit in Chapter 44 sunsets in 2028, and that's at the same time that we're going to be bargaining. So these are things that are on our radar. Are they formal? Are they everyday discussions that we have with one another? Yeah. But are they formal and written down? Maybe not necessarily, but long-term financial planning is going very well. But I think if we want to set short-term goals, we can also look at that as well. If that answers your question, I'm hopeful that gives you kind of a retrospective look and then a prospective look.
It does. I guess my summary, just because I know they're recording, the AI will probably type some notes at some point, but what I want to make sure is clear both to the board and to the public is that there is already some effort to support long-range planning. I think what you're doing is formalizing it. And Beth, I appreciate that you're cognizant of the workload on the staff too. So I'm hopeful that we can strike the right balance when it comes to the energy and effort that goes into the outer years, and because you have more certainty on the near term, and then as you get further out, there's more noise in the assumptions that you make.
I'm glad you said that, Michelle, because I think Mr. Rizzo would agree, like for the public, we're not setting a goal because we're in a deficit situation here. We're setting a goal to keep our vision on financial planning, right? That's what you're saying, correct?
I wanted to chime in too, since I sat in on these strategic planning sessions. Judith Wilson did point out early on, as well as contradictory to proposing a financial goal, was that we should not be setting goals on things that we already do well. She said that's pointless, we shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back. We really need to look at those things that are concerning our community and our district, our students and our teachers. And while I did not commit to memory every survey and parent result, I don't recall a single one being about financial concerns for our district.
I don't recall either. I know you're looking at me.
No, I'm saying not a single comment. And I just wanted to reinforce that it was contradictory that Judith would propose that we would do a financial goal when I'd offer up we're a gold standard in the area.
And if there are any suggestions for wording, I mean, Jason and I do not own the language. If there's a language tweak, we sent this to the strategic planning committee. We shared it, by the way, to answer your question, we shared it via email just so that everybody saw what the final draft looked like.
I just had a comment real quick. I'm sorry. You gonna say
No,
something?
I was just letting him know.
I was just gonna say, I looked at all the goals and I really was like, wow, I really like the wording and all of it, the financial aspect. I think because we do have referendum that was passed, I think it's important to keep this here. It'll help us with the referendum and future fiscal goals, and I think I like it and I would like to keep it.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, what's on the agenda next? All right. We are going to move to our second. I'm sorry.
Very quick, I promise it'll be very quick. Under new business, there was a Garden State Coalition, the Coalition of Schools meeting on May 20th. Dr. Hart and I attended. There were a number of speeches, including a panel that addressed questions around the school funding formula at the state level, where there was consensus that transportation, healthcare, contracts, and special education need to be prioritized, and how to address it either locally or regionally, or at the state level. We talked a lot about student wellness, including the NJ4S program that Reddington is bringing in-house, and how critical that is to maintaining a strong school district and healthy students. They were asking about cell phone policies in schools, as well as AI policies in the various schools. We addressed and talked about a number of topics and aligned on them. So just wanted to share that.
Great, thank you, Pam. All right, before I close out this section, anything else? All right, now we're gonna move to our second public forum. It is for any items on or off the agenda. Once again, please come up, state your name, your town, and you'll have 3 minutes.
You can have comments online.
Yeah, Tom Curtis, White House Station. So if I understand correctly what one of the board members spoke to, the book review process, I guess, has been around for a long time. I don't know who's been on the board for a long time, but I guess my question would be, was that something that occurred during the acquisition process? Did it happen after the books had already been acquired? And how is that so different from what's currently being done, other than the fact that maybe it's been more formalized and now the librarian has the option of bringing it up the chain if they feel that there might be, an issue with the book? So that's my question. Thanks.
Anybody else in the audience?
Okay. The warning signs of authoritarianism don't announce themselves. They accumulate through policies, complaints, and votes that seem isolated until you step back and see the pattern. The playbook has been used before. In Nazi Germany, it began with targeting the vulnerable: gay people, transgender people, the mentally ill, the disabled, and any books discussing the same topics. They were labeled threats to children, culture, and nation. Ordinary citizens filed complaints, cast votes, and made quiet decisions that together built something monstrous. We are not Nazi Germany, but every book censored leads to thought censored, ideas censored, to a dumber society. Amending Policy 2535 was the start of your journey toward embracing authoritarian values. And this is not just about books. As part of the national MAGA movement, you have enmeshed yourselves with an ideology that hates diversity, hates LGBTQ citizens, and despises any literature that explores different topics. You have entered the authoritarian territory. Let me tell you what this looks like when a community fights back. In May 2024, the North Hunterdon Voorhees Board of Education voted 7-4 to keep the book Let's Talk About It, an illustrated sex education guide, to keep it on library shelves. The librarian defending that book was threatened, smeared, called a pedophile and a groomer. She fought back with such courage that she was awarded Lemonnies Ticket Prize for noble librarians faced with adversity. She won, but she should have never had to fight that battle. We live in United States of America, for God's sake. Not Nazi Germany, not communist Poland, and not Putin's Russia. Fast forward to February 2026. The Reddington Board of Education changed policy 2535, allowing board members to scrutinize books before they are even purchased. The same month, MAGA members of Hunterdon Central Board of Education began manufacturing outrage over the same book as North Hunterdon. Ladies and gentlemen, this does not happen in a vacuum. Just listen. So let's connect the dots. The president of Reddington Board of Education is married to the former president of Hunterdon Central Board of Education, who is still sitting on the board today and ginning up outrage in the community over the book, Let's Talk About It. And the law firm of Murray, Nolan, and Baruti, currently suing 5 New Jersey school districts over policy 5756, is the same firm a former Hunterdon Central MAGA board member worked for while sitting on the board. These are facts. This is not fake news. From board member to law firms to coordinated policy changes to manufactured outrage. This is not coincidence. This is coordinated effort. Same people, same targets, same playbook. History has seen this before, and I am here at this every meeting to make sure everyone else sees it too, and I'll call you out on it.
Okay, and
Good evening, Laura Mahoney, I'm a teacher here at Reddington. I wanted to offer just a point of clarification from the educators in the audience tonight about the book log. Book logs at the beginning of the year were introduced to us from the committee, and the decision that was put in place that this was something that we were going to implement with all of our students and allow parents to opt into or out of the reading log. We were going to put it up on our boards every day for the kids to log in, and that we were going to give them time and remind them to do that. Every parent received a direct email either from the teacher or from their student's account with a Google link to that form. So Clever is not needed to access that form. It could be searched up in emails or reached out to a teacher to get that form again. So just a point of clarification on that, because it was not an easy process to do, to try to figure out. We tried to find a lot of efficiencies to get that done, and it did not work the way we thought it was going to. So just point of clarification there, because facts are important. Data is important. We do a lot of work here. Our administrators stand up and give presentations on data. And all of the data paints a picture. So we need to use that data to inform our choices like we do in the classroom. And the discussions tonight are sort of painting a broad picture. And that seems to be that feedback is solicited, discussions are had, but decisions are made before the discussions are had. And that, whether or not that is the intent, that is the message that's being sent to the people that are sitting in the audience, that are online. There's about 8 of us here tonight. From the teachers union, there are many more watching at home, and that has been the discussion after board meetings. So that's probably important for you to know. Having a discussion about who was going to sit to follow the process of a challenged book is an important discussion, and it's a really important role. You are following the exact process laid out by Stress Esme, which is important and the standard procedure for everyone, but it is stunning to have a discussion or to have no discussion raised over any shadow of impropriety for someone that you are going to nominate to be on that board. It does not engender trust with your staff. It does not engender trust with the wider community at large who cannot be here. And if you are going to take data given from the community and choose only the parts that continue to support the outcomes that you want, that is not what data is used for, and it's very disappointing. Second, was the term sensitive. And I pulled up a definition just to see, because words are important, and we teach these in our classrooms, that, some words have one definition, some words have many definitions. The reason that sensitive keeps coming up, and I lost my tab, is because when you look up sensitive, on dictionary.com, there are 13 separate definitions of sensitive. Sensitive could be reading a story in which a pet dies, that's a sensitive topic. A grandparent dies, someone has to move to a new place, somebody loses a favorite item. Those are sensitive materials that kids could have a hard time with depending on where they are. Clarification in that language is important because sensitive can be anything from having senses to being empathetic to other people to being highly sensitive in being agitated. You're sensitive over people's comments or something that does require tact or caution because it is a touchy subject. So that's where that feedback is coming from. And say this hoping that it's reaching open ears because that is the intent which it is delivered. Here are some books that have been challenged in other schools across the country because someone thought they were sensitive. The Giving Tree, The Lorax, Stregonona, Hair Love, The Last Stop on Market Street. What is Juneteenth? When we use language to have a dialogue, we need to make sure we're using the same definitions of things. If something is offensive or damaging to the development of students, that is not fully encompassed by the word sensitive. So that is the reason why this keeps coming up. It is not about particular books. It is not about us versus them. It's about allowing students access to things that will enhance their learning and allowing parents to be part of the process where there's an open dialogue and discussion and you can decide for your family, but you cannot decide for everybody's family because people are ready for different things at different times. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else in the audience?
Jason DeLuca, Reddington. So, as Mr. Curtis mentioned, there seems to be a chain of steps taken. And I guess my question is, it seems like it all is really one step. A board member has chosen to challenge a book. There is now a committee. How many members of those committee can directly be fired or have their salaries held up, promotions held up by the board? There's another committee that is mostly board members and that goes to the full board. Like, it seems like at the end of the day, the board has made a decision and now we're just going through the motions before it happens, if I'm correct. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else from the audience? I know we have someone online.
Yeah. Can you scroll to the
Larry,
beginning?
you're gonna have to scroll up a little bit so we can see the comments.
Right,
Right
right
there.
there is good, and then I'll just need help as I get to the bottom. At K DeLuca 7014, Catherine DeLuca, Reddington District 6. Mrs. Cassidy provided rationale for why selecting a prior board member would be appropriate, and Mrs. Fiore expressed her reservations regarding Mrs. Ryan's impartiality based on her actions on a previous book challenge conducted in accordance with the existing policy at the time. It is disappointing that Mr. Chair, as the nominator, did not expand on this rationale for why Mrs. Ryan would be an ideal representative, and it is unclear what, if any, criteria the board is adhering to for their selection. It is also disappointing how limited the conversation regarding potential nominees was and how the concerns broached by Mrs. Fiore were not addressed. If the chair wishes to address any of these items specifically, it would be welcome. And then they add Sarah S-R9F, Mrs. Ryan's incompetence when it comes to listening to the public and having knowledge on school policy will cost taxpayers thousands of dollars. We will think of this at the polls.
Okay, thank you. At that point, I'm going to close out the public comments. We did have a question from Mr. Curtis. It was more of a factual nature, so I'll attempt to answer it. The section on our website, you go to the Board of Education, there's a section for committees, and one of them you will see the ed tech. I mean, they're all out there, right? And it goes back years. So what was being referenced was the committee reports from 2019, so I think it's 2021 or 2022. There's like 4 or 5 reports per year. So if you wanted, you could look at that. You can actually see what books were brought in for the ed tech committee to review. And so, it doesn't give, it just basically says the books are brought in for review. I don't think any were rejected. I've read the minutes. So you could do that. It wasn't library books, it was resource materials, which is different. And this was pre-policy 2535. So if you want to actually see it, you can actually go into the board website. That's where that is from. Mr. Luca, you had a question at the end. I'm sorry, what was it again?
How many members of the committee that Ms. Ryan is now on are able to be directly fired by the board or have some sort of financial amount that the board has control of?
I mean,
like their salaries, their ability to be promoted, et cetera.
You mean from the book challenge?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the regulation specifically says people who can make a book challenge are teachers, I believe parents and students, and is it students or?
Students.
Yeah, students. So the person who made the challenge is a parent in the district, so they're authorized per 2535 to make that. It's not that they're a board member, it's that they're a parent with children in the district. That's one of the 3 groups that can do it. We met with our board council. We're following the recusal and the abstention. So there is no financial, there's no conflict of interest. We're following guidance from our council on how this could occur. But because you're a board member, does not mean you give up your rights as a parent. There's parents here on the board. It just.
David, can I rephrase, because as I understand the question, it's how many people on the book review committee are employees in the district? That's really
That's what you're gonna step at the heart.
So there are 7 members, so there's the superintendent, the principal, the librarian, and language arts teacher, and the supervisor. So 5 out of 7 are board employees. The only one who's a direct report to the Board of Education is the superintendent. Everyone else is a direct report or indirect report to the superintendent. Does that answer that? That's what I picture the question. Okay.
Understood, so thank you.
He had also asked if the panel decision is final or if it gets promoted.
The decision, so the committee will convene. The committee will, the regulation reads that the committee has to read the book in its entirety, come together and discuss the book, provide a report and a recommendation to the Board of Education within that 60-day timeline I think I mentioned earlier. So between the committee makes, for lack of a better word, a recommendation to the full Board of Education. The full board hears whatever that recommendation is. The full board then makes a decision. I think there's 3 decisions according to regulation: keep, restrict, or limit access, or remove the book. Those are the 3 decisions in front of the board based on, I don't have it in front of me right now, but that's my understanding. So from committee to board is the process.
Okay. I think that was all the questions. So I'm going to close our public session. Thank everyone for speaking and online as well. We're now going to move to executive session. I'm going to make the motion. Motion to adopt the following resolution: resolve to adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss 2 HIVs, a legal matter, the superintendent evaluation for approximately 60 minutes, at which time the board expects to return to public session, where action shall not be taken. Matters discussed will be made public if and when circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not presently known such circumstances will exist. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote?
Ms. Cassidy.
Yes.
Ms. Fiore.
Yes.
Mr. Lopes.
Yes.
Ms. Mentor.
Yes.
Mrs. Brad.
Yeah.
Mrs. Ryan.
Yes.
Mrs. Pinto.
Yes.
Mr. Rizzo.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out.
I'm gonna stand up.